Margaret is 72 years old. She lives in Dayton, Ohio, on Social Security and a small pension, and every dollar in her month already has a job to do before it even arrives. A few months back, she saw the headlines. Some well-known analysts were projecting a 4.7% Social Security raise for 2027. So she did what anybody in her position would do. She got out a calculator right there at her kitchen table and worked the math. At 4.7%, her check would go up nearly $98 a month. She didn't run out and spend it. She's not reckless with money, never has been. But she let herself plan around it, just a little. The prescription she'd been quietly rationing, stretching 30 days into 45. A plane ticket to finally go see her daughter. Maybe finally, fixing that air conditioner that's been limping along since last summer. Small things. But small things matter enormously when you're living on a fixed income because there's no cushion underneath them if you're wrong. Then July happened. In the space of about 2 weeks, everything Margaret had calculated on that kitchen table changed. And the real number, the one that's actually going to land in her bank account come January 2027, is smaller than the headline she built her hopes around. Meaningfully smaller. Tonight, I want to walk you through exactly what changed, why it changed, and what the honest math looks like once Medicare takes its cut. Because I think Margaret deserves the real number, and so do you. Before we go any further, if you've been following these COLA estimates this year, and judging by the comments on this channel, an awful lot of you have, stay with me here. Because what happened in July genuinely rewrites the math a lot of people have been quietly carrying around in their heads. And if you've never heard of COLA estimates until this exact moment, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through every piece of it slowly, the way I'd explain it to my own mother. Let's start with why anybody believed 4.7% in the first place. Earlier this year, energy prices spiked hard, and a sharp April inflation reading pushed independent forecasters to raise their projections for the 2027 Social Security raise. These aren't random guesses, by the way. The people making these projections, folks like policy analyst Mary Johnson, have been tracking this stuff for decades, and they've built real credibility doing it. So when she said 4.7%, people reasonably took that seriously. It would have been one of the largest raises in over 30 years. And for a lot of folks on a fixed income, hearing a number that big feels like finally catching a break. But here's something I need you to understand about how this whole thing actually works, because it explains everything that happened next. Social Security doesn't just pick a raise out of thin air every year. It watches how prices moved for a specific slice of the economy, mostly things like gas, groceries, everyday goods, across 3 particular months, July, August, and September. Whatever inflation did during those 3 months, that's roughly your raise for the following January. So when prices run hot in the spring, estimates climb. And when prices cool down faster than anybody expected, which is exactly what happened in June, those same estimates come right back down with it. And boy, did they come down. On July the 14th, the government released new inflation data, and it showed a real slowdown. Inflation over the past 12 months landed at 3.5%, a clear cooling from the hotter pace we'd seen in spring. Mary Johnson, the same analyst who had confidently projected 4.7% just 1 month earlier, cut her estimate by a full percentage point, straight down to 3.7%. In her own words, this was one of the largest month-over-month drops she'd seen in June inflation data in 5 years. Let that sink in for a second. 5 years, and this was the biggest one. Meanwhile, another closely watched source, the Senior Citizens League, held their numbers steadier at 3.8% for the second month running. A little higher than Johnson's figure, but still a long way down from where spring's headlines had people's hopes sitting. Now, I want to stop you right here and ask you something. Honestly, did you see one of those 4.7% headlines back in the spring? Maybe on the news, maybe from a friend. Maybe scrolling through your phone at 2 in the morning like the rest of us do sometimes? And be honest with me. Did you let yourself start planning around it, even just a little, the way Margaret did? Type yes in the comments if that's you. I'm not asking to make anybody feel foolish. Quite the opposite. I think almost everybody watching this did the exact same thing. And I want you to see just how many of us got caught up in the same number. And listen, while you're down there commenting, if this is the first time somebody's actually walked you through why these estimates swing around so much, do me a favor and hit that like button. This channel exists to cut through noise like this. And the only way more folks on a fixed income ever find videos like this one is if you show it a little love first. Alright, let's do the math that Margaret actually did on her own kitchen table, because this is where the real story lives. At 3.8%, the higher of the two current estimates, the average Social Security check goes up about $74 a month. Even at Johnson's lower 3.7% figure, it lands in almost the exact same place, right around $74 to $77. Now, on its own, that sounds like reasonably good news, and honestly, it still is. A raise is still a raise. But here's the part that never makes the headlines. The part that quietly eats into that number before it ever touches your bank account. Medicare Part B is already scheduled to go up too. The official projection, straight from this year's Medicare Trustees Report, puts the 2027 Part B premium at about $209.50 a month, up from $202.90 today. That's roughly $6.60 more every single month, coming straight out before your Social Security raise even reaches you. And here's the honest complication. Some private forecasters, looking at the pattern of these trustee projections consistently landing low in past years, think the real 2027 number could actually run higher, somewhere between $216 and $219. If that turns out to be closer to the truth, Medicare could take an even bigger bite, something closer to $15 or $16 a month instead of $660. So even using the most conservative, most cautious estimate available, somewhere between about $6 and $16 of Margaret's raise gets absorbed by Medicare before she ever sees a single cent of it in her account, which means the number she actually feels, come January, the number that changes her real life, not the number from a headline, lands somewhere around $58 to $68 a month. Not 98, not even 74, maybe 58. Sit with that gap for a second, because it's a big one. And it's exactly the gap that a lot of folks are going to feel blindsided by if nobody explains it to them ahead of time. I want you to picture Margaret again, sitting at that same kitchen table, looking back down at her notebook. She's not devastated, she's not in crisis, but she's doing what a responsible person does. She's picking up the eraser, and she's quietly adjusting the plan. Maybe the plane ticket waits a little longer. Maybe the air conditioner gets patched instead of replaced one more year. That's not a tragedy. That's just what it looks like to plan honestly with real numbers, instead of hopeful ones. And this is exactly why I made this video, and why I think it's worth sharing with somebody in your life who's still walking around with that 4.7% number stuck in their head from back in the spring. If this has helped you understand what's actually likely coming in January, send it to them right now. A parent, a neighbor, somebody at your church who mentioned that headline a few months back and never heard the update. A lot of people are still budgeting off a number that quietly expired weeks ago, and they have no idea. Now, let me be completely fair here, because I don't want to leave you thinking this is some kind of trick or some kind of government sleight of hand. It's neither. This is not a cut. Nobody canceled anything. Nobody in Washington reached in and took money out of your check. What happened is simpler, and in a strange way, more honest than that. Inflation itself slowed down faster than forecasters expected. And because Social Security's raise is built directly from inflation data, the raise slowed down right along with it. If gas prices shot back up tomorrow, or shipping costs spiked again, these estimates could climb right back up just as fast as they fell. Nothing here is locked in stone, and nothing here is anyone's fault. It's math, responding to a moving world, same as it always has. So what should you actually do with all of this, sitting here today? First, mark August 12th on your calendar, because that's the day the first real piece of the official puzzle arrives. July's inflation reading, the first of the 3 months that actually determine your 2027 raise. August and September data follow after that. And then, in mid-October, the Social Security Administration will announce the real, final, official number. Not an estimate from an analyst, not a projection from a trustee's report, but the actual figure that determines your check. Until that morning in October, everything we've talked about tonight, the 3.7%, the 3.8%, the $58, all of it, is an educated, well-researched estimate. Not a fact yet. Treat it that way. Plan conservatively around the lower end of these numbers. And if the final figure comes in higher, let it be a pleasant surprise instead of a hole in your budget. We built this channel to do exactly this. Take a complicated number that most people only see in a scary headline and hand you back the real math underneath it, plainly, without spin. If that's useful to you, subscribe, because we'll be back the moment the August 12th data lands, walking you through exactly what it means for the number in your own pocket. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with something Margaret would probably want you to hear too, because it's easy to walk away from a video like this, feeling a little deflated, and that's not what I want for you. Yes, $58 is a smaller number than 98. It's a smaller number than the headlines promised back in May. But it is still real money, landing in real accounts every single month for the rest of the year. And here's some honest perspective worth holding on to. Back in 2016, the Social Security raise was a mere 0.3%. Practically nothing, barely enough to notice at all. Whatever January 2027 ends up bringing, even at the more conservative end of these estimates, it's a meaningfully bigger raise than plenty of years Margaret has already lived through and gotten by just fine. Knowing the real number, not the hopeful one, not the headline one, but the actual number, is what lets her plan her real life around it. That's all this video was ever trying to hand you, the real number. Because after everything you've worked for, that's what you actually deserve.